The heist movie starts with a narrator telling us about Cleopatra's 3 eggs, 2 of which have been found, but 1 is still missing. We then go to Rome and meet John Hartley, who is working with the police to stop a robbery of one of the eggs. Hartley and his team get to the room where the egg is displayed. Hartley pours some Coke on the egg, showing it's a fake, and the real one has been stolen. They quickly lock down the room and the museum, but a mysterious guy runs away. The guy's name is Booth. He escapes with the real egg while Hartley chases him. Despite some obstacles, Booth manages to get away from both the police and Hartley. Booth relaxes in his hideout, pours himself a drink, and is about to settle in when he runs into someone. It's Hartley, who brought some backup with him. Hartley starts messing with Booth, and for a moment Booth looks vulnerable, but that moment passes quickly when Daz, an Interpol agent, loses patience with Booth's jokes. Hartley then arrests Booth and recovers the egg, putting it in a different van than the one Booth is taken away in. But before leaving, Hartley crushes Booth's pride one last time. Just as he is about to depart, he hears a suspicious noise. The egg has been replaced and stolen again, but not by Booth. This time it's a woman named Sarah Black, also known as the Bishop, the greatest art thief in the world. When the police discover the fake egg, they immediately suspect Hartley, since he was in charge of the operation. Plus, $8 million has been deposited into his account. Daz, the Interpol agent, arrests Hartley despite his protests of innocence and sends him to a prison in Russia where he ends up sharing a cell with Booth. The 2 new cellmates start talking about the new art thief. Of course, both suspect it's the Bishop. In the prison cafeteria, Booth tells Hartley about a multi-millionaire who named his daughter Cleopatra and wants to give her 3 eggs as a wedding gift. He's willing to pay a lot of money for them. Booth also mentions that the second egg is with a dangerous art dealer named Sotto Voce, a sophisticated man who doesn't wear shirts and likes to choke people to death. How charming. As they talk, Booth realizes he holds a grudge against Hartley for getting him into prison and decides to make Hartley's stay miserable. Hartley, being an FBI profiler, falls under law enforcement but isn't a cop. After Booth's revenge stunt, they are sent to the prison's captain, who turns out to be Sarah Black, the Bishop, Booth's biggest rival in the art theft world. Sarah tells Hartley she was behind the $8 million deposit to frame him and get him arrested by Daz. Suspicious indeed. Sarah explains that she already has the first egg and will get the second one at Sotto Voce's party in 2 days. She needs Booth's help to get the third egg, offering him 10% of the profit if he tells her where it is. Booth refuses, and Sarah walks away confidently, sure she will win either way. Back in prison, Booth and Hartley brainstorm a plan to escape, something Booth isn't used to since he usually works alone. That night, Booth and Hartley have a heart-to-heart talk. Booth shares that his father accused him of stealing his favorite watch when he was a teenager. His father didn't speak to him for a year until he showed up wearing the watch, but never apologized. This strained relationship led Booth to a life of crime. The next day, Booth and Hartley put their escape plan into action. Though not flawless, they manage to break out of the prison. They still have to get past several guards, but with Hartley's strength, it's not too hard. However, things get complicated when a massive shootout starts. Hartley tells Booth to get on a nearby helicopter while he handles the bad guys. Booth initially plans to leave without Hartley, but Hartley, being athletic, catches up just in time. In London, Sarah is venting to someone we first think is her therapist, but it turns out he's a hostage. While she hacks into a system to alert the police about Hartley and Booth's escape, she forces the hostage to promise secrecy by threatening to expose his browser history. Once safely on the ground, Booth contacts a friend who owes him a favor and borrows his private jet. It's a big favor, but they manage to board the plane. In the air, Booth explains their plan to break into Sotto Voce's house. They need to bypass security, hack into many security systems, and even get through a door that opens only with Sotto's face. Booth has most things covered, including using a deep fake of Sotto's face. The only thing he hasn't figured out is how to get Sotto's fingerprint to hack his phone, but he plans to solve that later. They arrive in Valencia, Spain, and get ready for Sotto's party. Booth grumbles about having to work with a partner, but Hartley pushes back. At the party, Hartley encounters Sarah while Booth goes to get Sotto's fingerprint. Hartley decides to confront Sarah, who isn't surprised to see him there. The two start dancing intensely, making Sotto Voce jealous. He quickly steps in to interrupt, giving sneaky Hartley a chance to grab his phone. Meanwhile, Daz has also snuck into the party, determined to catch Booth and Hartley. As Sotto Voce begins a speech, Booth and Hartley put their plan into action. With some Oscar-worthy acting, They convince everyone they're just heading to the bathroom, using wine spilled on Hartley's suit as a cover. They reach the safe room, and Booth gets Sado Voce's fingerprint from a wine glass. Just when they think the hard part is over, Daz catches them in the act, tracking their every move. The police order Hartley to arrest Booth to prove he's a real cop. Hartley pretends to comply, but doesn't actually turn Booth in. Are they best friends now? As they run from the police, Sarah is waiting for them, leading to a fight between the trio. Meanwhile, Sado Voce is alerted that someone has entered the safe room and heads there. Sarah manages to take down both Hartley and Booth, restraining them with the same cuffs Hartley chose not to use on Booth. Without a second thought, Sarah grabs the second egg. Just then, the homeowner, Sado Voce, walks in. Booth tells him that Sarah has the egg, but Sado doesn't care since they're partners in crime. Hartley and Booth are knocked out and taken to a torture chamber. Sarah tells Booth she will make him talk by torturing Hartley. Surprisingly, Booth seems relieved, as long as he isn't the one being tortured. Sarah starts electrocuting Hartley, but Booth still refuses to talk. Sado Voce then steps in and starts choking Hartley, nearly killing him. Desperate, Booth finally reveals that the third egg is in Cairo, buried in a hidden chamber. Sarah and Sado Voce celebrate their victory with champagne. However, Sado's glass is poisoned, and he passes out instantly. As he wakes up, disoriented and shooting wildly, he accidentally frees Hartley and Booth by shooting their handcuffs. They quickly run away to any place they can find but end up in the middle of a coliseum where a bullfight is about to start. Suddenly, they are the main attraction. Booth tells Hartley not to move, thinking bulls have bad eyesight and can't sense motion. Hartley says Booth is confusing this with Jurassic Park, but Booth insists he's right. It turns out he's wrong, and Hartley gets trampled by a bull. Later, they board a train to catch their next flight. Hartley wants to know the exact location of the third egg. At first, Booth refuses to share the secret, but after Hartley talks about his father, Booth gives in and explains everything. Booth admits he lied about the egg being in Egypt and reveals it's actually in Argentina. He discovered this through his father's favorite watch, which had the coordinates to the egg's location. There's some Nazi stuff involved, but it's not crucial to the story. Next, we see them searching for the secret hideout in the Argentinian jungle. After a heated argument, they find a bunker. Inside, they discover a hatch with stairs, a vintage car worth millions, and various random items. They finally get their hands on the authentic egg, but their celebration is interrupted when Sarah unexpectedly arrives. Sarah suspected Booth was lying, so she quietly followed them. Armed and outnumbered, Booth and Hartley hand over the egg to her. Just then, the police and Daz arrive. Seeing they're outnumbered, the trio teams up and escapes in a vintage car worth millions. They grab the egg, but end up falling down a cliff and into a waterfall. Booth is the first to get out of the water and waits for Hartley. He leaves the egg unattended to look for Hartley, who emerges safe. Sarah also survives, but Booth gloats that they have the egg and she doesn't, claiming to be the greatest art thief. However, Hartley and Sarah had planned this all along. They're actually married and use Booth to find the final egg. Hartley isn't a cop, after all. They tie Booth to a tree and leave with the egg, unlike Booth, who tried to save Hartley. The couple delivers the eggs to the bride's father in Cairo. In a strange twist, Ed Sheeran makes a cameo during this scene. The police arrive and arrest everyone except Hartley and Sarah, including Ed Sheeran. Months later, Booth visits the couple on a boat. He says he forgives them but hasn't forgotten, and he's told the police their location. However, he offers to let them escape if they do one last job with him. By the time the cops arrive, the trio has vanished, setting up a sequel for another adventure.